remember that interview, yeah, in your kitchen years ago. Take this jacket off. It's a little warm in here. I want to thank Howard and Joan for inviting me and for everyone for coming out tonight. I wasn't sure if there would be very many people here after a holiday and before the other holiday that's coming up. I thought I might be tired of doing this kind of, well, going out and spending money and whatever. I've been on vacation for 3 weeks from warehouse work and hibernating because it's that time of year. So I'm going to start with a couple of poems about warehouse work. I never thought I'd have a job like that. Now I've worked there for 30 years at Sundance. I thought I'd be there for a few weeks. I really did. I had just gotten a job teaching a postgraduate teaching fellowship that was to teach a class at Oregon State Penitentiary at the same time that I got the Sundance job. But that's only a one-year appointment. Kind of a good thing. Going to prison once a week is really, well, it's hard on a person. Sorry, can't find that poem that I want. I want to start with a title poem for history, which it's kind of a big title, but it's not meant to be. If you were to read the book, I think you'd see right away that it's personal history, and it's history in a small, not large. Oh my gosh. Where is it? So, history. I walk into the warehouse. The ceiling heater rages. The early morning chill still holds the big room. Overhead, the pipe for the walk-in freezer drips. The warehouse cat meows at my heels. I shall know what to do. I turn on the radio as the newscaster tells everyone the war in Iraq, the over weeks ago, has pockets of resistance. I remember each word my Chaucer professor spoke when he asked class what war is. No one raised their hand. War is men killing men, he said. War is men killing men. Real work begins in the long dark, lonely against the backdrop of ordinary days. And the title of this other warehouse poem is also the first line of the poem. When I walk the path I've worn between the warehouse and the store, my past and future collide like a bad carnival ride. My hand truck is heavy with regret, lost hours, days sprinkled with the dark with the dark foot of micromanagement. I watch the cashiers who are talking and asking customers if they're enjoying their day. One of the younger cashiers wears an illegal shirt. Her beautiful armpits are revealed in all their tender glory. I can hear a delivery truck rumbling down the scarred gravel alleyway. I try to think of labor as a kind of workout. Meanwhile, the truck driver is grousing about routing again. The general manager complains about payroll. New workers are sluggish, awash in the hurry of barely enough. The other somewhat warehouse poem is called Maybe. Maybe. I hang rain jacket with broken zipper on garage door track, drape rain pants over bike frame, take off wet work shoes, pull out insoles, toss dirty shoes into washer. The ride to the typesetters after work was chilling. and I forgot to bring an example. Sartre said, "Suffering tells me I'm alive, though being wet and tired, breaking down pallets, pushing a blue hand truck down a rutted alleyway is hardly real hardship. Disappointment, maybe." You can tell I like warehouse work from those little jokes about being a laborer. I want to read a couple of poems for my mother. Yeah. They're both kind of dark. Bastard. Dad was born the year before she was, in Georgetown or Westville, or one of the dirty little towns on the narrow road that bleeds south of Danville, Illinois. Mom didn't have a chance. The Depression tore through the western Indiana countryside like a tornado. Hate can be a kind of stain. She used to talk about how her parents refused to buy black market sugar. Backbone wasn't scarce in the torn-apart landscape. Corn tassels teasing the wind, field after level field. She never met her real father. I remember Dad mimicking a chicken in our prefab kitchen, how I got right in Mom's face. Flour was cheap in 31 if you had work. Dust covered everything, dust and want. And this one's called Echoes, also for my mother. I'm still mulling over the day she coaxed my brother, then only 5, back out into the street. She had shown him how to double the belt so the buckle could dangle. Was it just to get even with a boy who had slapped him when he wasn't looking? She had been fathered during the Great Depression by a man who drove through small towns offering girls money to ride with him. Often locked in a closed closet as a child, she now whispers in my ear as I sleep. Warren County, Indiana. So I'm from Indiana. But I've been here since '74. I feel like a Northwesterner and have for a long time. Warren County, Indiana. The courthouse was built from limestone quarried behind the old school. A staircase of rock and a pool of slime. Valleys, hills, roads, all of these have a blue birth. Fall Creek Gorge carries summer to the lonely Wabash River. Farmers walk the early morning streets. The town's baseball diamond stands in water. Blue is my color, blue. Sleepy boys slip in the river of their beds. The firehouse alarm blares louder each night. Weekends. When I was a boy, I watched parents and grandparents tear live chickens apart. My aunt and uncle were younger than me, so weekend visits to the farm were full. Once on the ride back home, Dad asked Mom if she thought Grandma and Grandpa still danced. I winked at my sister as a grimace flashed across her face. I had slow danced with a girl in Aunt Darlene's dimly lit bedroom, danced for hours. Leslie Gore on the photograph, whining about the ocean meeting the shore. I couldn't kiss the girl, though I carried her class photo in my wallet for years. Let's see. Okay. This is called Bloom and Bloom and Bloom. I picked wildflowers at a rest park in Wyoming, tied them to the rearview mirror to remind myself where I've been. Truckers roared past me in the dead of night. I practiced courtesy, dimming my lights, slowing so that I wanted them to pass. The radio wouldn't play in the Rockies, so I drove with the vents open and the windows down into Nebraska. I drove for hours without saying a word, slept without dreaming. In the morning, farms in Iowa and Illinois were a blur, but that night I saw him, Dad, shirtless in the dim porch light, holding the screen door open, welcoming me after 10 long years with a look. He's thin now, thinner than I'd imagined. 2 lines sweep across his barrel chest. There's a third across the base of his neck, where a doctor, a stranger to me, has done his work. But there in the doorway, Dad's eyes glowed. They glowed wild and calm at once, their light dissolving the years and the distances I'd put between us, dissolving the war and miles of interstate and mountains and prairie. The flowers from along the interstate bloom and bloom and bloom, as if out of their own ashes, or their own forgotten past that will not die. I should write some funny poems, because, I think there's just too much darkness in some of these. I really want to do that, but, I'm not sure I know how to be funny. I know how to be sad, so I'm kind of a sad guy in a way, I guess. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I could be wrong. Someone has to do the dirty dishes. It's not like I was asked to do something useless. Every time a used cup appears on the counter, or a knife with a pad of peanut butter is left in the sink, I know someone is thinking of me. What could be better than this? It's not as if I were being drafted. I could be a prisoner falsely accused of an unimaginable crime. Life is almost too easy here. I could be wrong. It hasn't rained in weeks. Things at a distance seem to be shifting. If you look, you can see the waves of heat lifting off the fields. Welding school. The steel mill was dark. Once a man tripped into the blast furnace, a vat of white-hot foundry cast iron, and was gone in a flash of light. One afternoon, a heavy casting fell from a ceiling crane, used to move cast iron gear housings through the big building, nearly tearing off a poor man's leg above the knee. Dad liked to tell how he held the dangling limb for the doctor when no one else could. This one might be funny. Sorry. The new kid. Elevated against flooding, the bridge stretches over the muddy Wabash. I'd park Dad's car close by, kiss girls beneath stars, dead now for centuries. Still I felt how light can move sheer in space. One night, the new kid, after a basketball game, climbed to the top of the iron supports. It was winter, and a chill hung in the night air. The girder, another 60 feet above the water. He was yelping about youth and the misery. Everyone was impressed by his frank ways and his sure grip on the cables on the way back down. He was a great kid. Simple love for Julian, he's my youngest son. Memories circle my body, a lost black bird. I see my father when I yell at my son. He's sluggish in the morning, not slow-witted, just a little too willing to let the events of the day unfold without him. I'm for his struggle. I see him attentive in my daydreams. I want to be as cunning as the rudder of a sailboat. I'll attack the corners of his angry heart. I'll walk ahead of him with a bag of tricks. I'll turn his eyes inward where he'll find strength. I'll yell from the crow's nest of his soul for him to open his arms to the double world of mirrors. So I better read one for my other son. Distance for Dashiell. My boy sleeps, snoring on his side. It is midday, and I'm ready for relief. 6 months old, he can yell dad or moan, nin, nin, repeatedly, his syllable for mom. My upper arms are sore from lugging him sleeping across town, but I can't blame him for shrugging off the cold with beautiful sleep. Now his mother walks out of the shower. She wriggles, pulling the raspberry towel across her backside. He cries, and the lover's bed slips further away. At night, it floats above my head, shaking its feathers onto my upturned face. Let's see. I don't know if I should read that long poem or not. Maybe I shouldn't. You know, it's 16 pages. They're short poems, but I don't think I'll do that. Kind of avoiding these poems about the military. The rockets. There aren't enough chairs on the island. The people, all men, have to stand with their hands in their pockets as the rockets drift off the earth into the dark sky. One man waves as if an old friend had left him for good. Isolation. The island is want, its streets to nowhere shine like the ocean. There, I'm sorry, I need stronger glasses. There, memory showed itself for the first time. First toy, first shirt, first kiss, the shadow behind chance. Words turned into colors mixed with ocean winds and slipped into themselves when the lights dimmed out. I felt my body turn green, free itself from the island's half-light, then surrender to its own dark waters. Let's see. So we go to 6?
Sure.
Well,
It doesn't happening after the 5.
right. Okay. This is self-portrait, 16 7-links. It's a long poem. The 7-ling is a form that I found online by accident. It was put together by, what's his name? Oh, a Scottish poet. It's supposed to be in here.
Not Robert Burns?
No, sorry. Roddy Lundstrom, I think is his name. No, and he modeled this idea for this form after a 7-line poem by Anna Akhmatova that was in a single stanza. But the form that he put together is 2 3-line stanzas. Each stanza has a list of 3 particulars that either relate to each other, complement each other, or rub up against each other. Then the final single-line stanza is a summation that you can do whatever you want with. You know, make it a surprise or whatever. And the poems don't have titles, they just have 7-ling and then the first 3 or 4 words in parentheses. So I'm just going to read the poems. I'll pause briefly. He longed for 3 things about farm life: the morning rooster, good compost in the garden, corn cobs glowing in the fireplace. He had no use for strangers selling Bibles, children who refused to weed the garden, well-meaning neighbors. The countryside belongs to the swallows. He lived for 3 things: work gloves, sun in the morning, the deep blue Midwest sky. He didn't care for outsiders, stiff prairie winds, a woman's cold coffee. He practiced how to talk while plowing flat fields. He read magazines in back of study hall, daydreamed of piloting jetliners to far-off destinations, longed to kiss the only lawyer in town's daughter. A buddy parked a white Pontiac convertible with a cracked block in his driveway. The Chesterfields were his idea. The open road, another thing altogether. Someone has the missing pages of the family dictionary. The rub is to see where you are, looking, not lifting the veil or plucking invisible strings that connect everything. He disliked the easily led, the two-faced middleman, the first hint of liver spots. Everything, he said, turns to shit. 3 things he loved about Pi Day: stories about parties in other countries, word games with numbers as answers, pi. He hated to learn of the mind's infinite potential, mayhem as natural as water, endless memorization with no pie to eat, math and barking ravens all around us. What of all the dreary years slogging the warehouse floor, the patchy plywood, the computer and the withholding technician? The tender girl who stocks the reach-in cooler, her songs and the bidness dance when we are alone, the existential disconnect. Chet Baker on the radio, softly following a sad song. A welder, toothless men wearing goggles, work handheld grinders beside his tired shack. The night darkening like the line foreman. Outside, the Milky Way full of twinkling energy. His father's brother wants to know if anyone bothers him. The company showers, cold, dirty. He drives the back road home with the radio off. Dad loved just 3 things: bowling, long hours at the steel mill, how the windshield wipers of his old truck shook. He had no use for neighbors, vacations, or the nuances of political talk. No one ever saw him with a chocolate bar. A boy had 3 dreams: snow, his own room, a father he could talk to. But there was only the long walk to school, cold cereal every morning, a mother who lived in the past. No one will love you, she said. The cinder block warehouse, dark. A semi idles hard down the rutted alleyway. The walk-in freezer ceiling drips. The sliding door is off its track. A muffin has been left too long in the toaster oven, and the boss is forgetful. He slips back under the water now. As a boy, he wanted just 3 things: a lower basketball hoop, long underwear, to see Lake Michigan. He roamed the erosion gullies of the gravel pit behind his grandparents' farm, hated water and his grandfather's gruff voice. Somehow, he was never tall enough. The cul-de-sac is on a hill. Our house is a duplex north of town, the Coburg Hills shrouded in fog. The high ceiling of the living room, the balcony of the loft bring to mind tall trees delirious in sun and wind. The quiet street is almost sad. He wished for 3 signs: the green light, the dog chasing its tail, photos of nudes. He disliked coy girls, wet hair in the workplace, a woman with a point of view. He couldn't understand the unmade bed. He shrugged off 3 things about boot camp: the small lies, the big lies, subtle psychological manipulation. He hated stories others told about girls back home, marching orders for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Thoughts belong to no one. The dirty warehouse is cold this morning. He's wet from the rainy bike ride against traffic. He wants breakfast. Shrink-wrapped pallets hug the wall against the alleyway. He hates counting returns, the hand truck's unfailing flat tire. He remembers the job wasn't to last. He parked in his easy chair for the evening after work. The gritty steel mill and cigars he only chewed languished on the other side of the river. Morning, the street dark, he drove the narrow back road toward smokestacks. He oogled the silent blue sky, swilled coffee. His tired pickup held the winding road. Thanks for listening to that. God. I'm going to close with something light first, then some other things. A couple of years ago, I got just hung up on trying to figure out how to write haiku. It's really hard. If you haven't tried to write a haiku, even with ignoring the 5-7-5 thing that really isn't important. But in the backyard, summer blackbirds gossip. Low tide, ropes of glistening kelp, polished rocks. The delivery driver tries to remember where he left his clipboard. Work's got to be good for something. You get ideas about stuff. Gosh. Okay. Only 3 or 4 more. This is called Arrested Development. My sons watch ripped episodes of Family Guy or Arrested Development. I work the dishes in the kitchen sink. Work hard, play hard. A lonely boy scrutinized late-night movies. The Fighting Seabees, a propaganda film wrapped in John Wayne bravado, brings to mind the Flying Tigers, a tale of American mercenaries and small prop planes in China before German flyers rode the blue in sleek jets yet to be imagined by farm boys from Iowa. In college, I made Work Hard, Play Hard my own. The live music of campus taverns, living magnets of regret or absence. So that long poem of Seven Wings, I'm trying to expand it to a full-length book, beyond the chapbook length. And let's see. I'll just read a couple of these if I can find it. The steel mill cleaning room, as wide and tall as an aircraft hangar. The air inside dirty and stale. The welders weary and aimless and hungry. He wondered which road would carry him away from his father's scowl, his white-knuckled fist, jaw tight as a riveted thought. Then he decided to be his own friend. He dreaded three things: the teachers, the students, the principal's thick wooden paddle with holes the size of dimes. There were basketball players, cheerleaders he longed to hold in his small arms, the noise from the gym on game day. He longed for nuance and a book that explains the sunset. On a dusty and close July afternoon, the flatbed lumbers over uneven ground. The smell of sweet clover cooks inside the top of his skull. The shade tree mocks everyone. The promise of an evening breeze lingers like a thought in the mind's quiet. The weathered riverbank suggests hidden gray matter. The boss smiles as he asked for details about his girlfriend. You know, sometimes you have creepy bosses. I know I have. I'm going to finish with this poem that's a couple of weeks ago. I had a response to a poem I read in the New Yorker. Sometimes I joke to myself about rewriting the poems in the New Yorker, you know, inverting them just for fun. You know, sometimes I don't understand those poems, and sometimes I think some of them are really very fine. This is called Crust. Night sky we must hold like unusual fruit. Sky over farmland, sky over gravel roads, open sky, big sky, sky almost a father, a gardener who plants under a full moon, sky of promise, sky almost a distant lover, lost friend, sky filled with longing, dream sky, sky over dog-tired hands, sky almost a field, sky on fire, sky almost a corner in a room, sky almost a ceiling, sky almost a cul-de-sac, an apology, a dirty fingernail, sky almost a dream of falling, sky over dark streets, sky over an empty playground, sky over a broken town, sky almost bright inside Earth's crust. Thanks for listening.